Hello, I'll be doing a review on the proposal on cerebellar TMS in functional integrated neural activity using EEG and PCI. Information integrated theory of consciousness suggests conscious activity can be quantified by the amount of neural integration of functional information within a network. This suggests some neural regions contribute to consciousness while others don't. TMS and EEG will be used to indirectly measure the grade of consciousness, as it allows activation or inhibition of brain regions, measures electrical activity, and calculates the PSI. The PSI is generated by compressing EEG data into an algorithm, where complex and integrated activity is poorly compressed and shows greater presence of consciousness. The cerebellum contributes to conscious experience, but there's different theories on how it interacts. Some suggest it's responsible for implicit thought and insight by unconsciously breaking problems down and using learnt mental models, as seen below. A review of past quasi-experimental experiments of cerebellum lesions found it to have roles in social, cognitive, and motor prediction, concept comprehension, idea generation, and mood regulation, which together enhance the qualia of conscious experience. Cerebellum research showed muscle tissue interfered with the TMS signal, and EEG measurements couldn't describe cortical activity. This gives a rationale to their proposal by repeating the experiment with muscle relaxants to prevent muscle activation, stop cerebellum shielding, and scalp interference, so the TMS signal can accurately stimulate and inhibit areas of the cerebellum to generate clear EEG data and allow for PCI measurement. Cerebellum's contribution to cerebral conscious networks. The objective is to use TMS-EEG to stimulate the posterior cerebellum and measure the PSI network activity, and there's 3 hypotheses surrounding this experiment. The method involved 200 Australian participants of various ages and ethnicities. The exclusion criteria was a family history of mood disorders or above the threshold scores on mood disorder questionnaires and allergies to profiterol. It used a double-blinded randomized experimental design where participants were tested in conscious and unconscious states. The conditions of each state were randomized and blinded of TMS activation, inhibition, and control, as shown in the figure. TMS stimulation and muscle relaxation were administered by third-party clinical staff. Results analyzed by multiple paired sample t-tests and assessing PSI means and differences of each condition. Some critiques of the study include there being some issues with complicated language and not clear conveyance of information. The rationale didn't go into potential reasons why muscle relaxants weren't used in past studies if it's causing an apparent negative effect on the imaging, such as side effects or ethical considerations, or how the current study was going to overcome these effects. It also didn't provide reasons why this study was needed in regards to the experiment or an overall consciousness research. The methods didn't include how participants will be recruited or how many, and stating they're from across Australia could be unfeasible. The exclusion criteria didn't want participants with a mood disorder, but they didn't specify what mood disorder questionnaire was used or why it was a confounding variable to the experiment. It excluded participants with profiterol allergies, but not the participants that shouldn't take muscle relaxants, such as pregnant people or with heart or liver issues. The procedure didn't include any TMS-EEG or other measures, safety outlines, ethical considerations, or that the study had been approved by an ethics committee. It used a double-blind study, which isn't permissible for the first part of the experiment, as participants and researchers will know who's experiencing a conscious and unconscious state first. However, it would work in the random allocation of the conditions once they're in the different consciousness states. The procedure was unclear on whether participants in both conscious and unconscious states will be exposed to all conditions, the stimulation, inhibition, and control in a random order, or if they'll be randomly allocated to one condition. There wasn't any age-based data analysis included, which is necessary in neural connectivity studies due to differing neuroplasticity associated with age, and it also didn't explain why structural MRI is necessary before the experiment. Implications include strengthening research that the cerebellum is associated with the qualia of consciousness and shows that activation has a greater effect on consciousness than inhibition. The cerebellum's high modularity is advising current AI research, which can predict how consciousness in AI will manifest. If the study is unsuccessful, it also shows the cerebellum isn't actively contributing to consciousness qualia, and this differentiates consciousness networks and to their background processing. Further improvements of the project include repeating the study with an fMRI and TMS instead of the EEG, as it will allow investigation of active changes in neural networks associated with the cerebellum to be seen directly in detailed images for the different consciousness states, as well as the diffuse neuronal effects of the TMS-stimulated cerebellum on other regions that may correlate to consciousness qualia. It will also allow for more interpretation on neural networks associated with the unconscious state, as the changes in brain connectivity can be viewed in the resting state spontaneous neural activity, and TMS stimulation inhibition. fMRI also allows for better spatial resolution, so neuronal networks associated with the cerebellum will be clearer. And also, overall, adjusting the study to the critiques will increase its validity in results and consciousness research. Furthermore, if the study is unsuccessful and shows the cerebellum isn't actively contributing to consciousness, then it's recommended to look into the unconscious associations. Investigating its potential diffuse effects to connected networks and regions to see how it impacts their associations with consciousness is recommended. Thank you for listening.